just finished watching the OA season 2, and it confirmed something very interesting for me. I was waiting to see what is Zendaya and Alexa Demi going to do in this show. Thought it was odd that they appeared there. It's not their usual brand of role. And when I first saw Zendaya, I was like, oh my God, Euphoria. But then I was like, no, this doesn't relate to Euphoria. But then I saw Alexa Demi play a tiny role. Now you can say there's no small roles, only small actors. Yeah. It is not by mistake that you would pick a well-known face of a very popular show and put that in another show in a tiny role. That role could have easily gone to a background actor who just happened to look really good that day. But no, they chose to give that role to a well-known actress. Why? Because they wanted us to think of Euphoria. They're like, if Zendaya doesn't make you think of Euphoria, how about Zendaya and Alexa together? That should make you think of Euphoria. Now, why am I bringing up Euphoria when discussing the OA? So, season 3 of Euphoria right now is not anything anyone who's ever seen Euphoria recognizes. It doesn't make sense, right? Most of us agree it does not make sense with the rest of the show. And I thought, this is so strange the way a lot of these shows are going down. A lot of shows are almost intentionally destroying their last season. And I know you're going to say that sounds crazy. I know you're going to say that sounds weird. Like, oh, they just messed up. They're just not really smart. That's what I hear all the time. They're not smart enough to finish this correctly, and that's why it sucks. That is such an oversimplification, because then how did they make the other seasons? And if one person or just two people are responsible for the success of the majority of the show and the failure of the last season, what are all those other people doing on set and in post-production? It takes multiple people. So if we're saying that people are not smart enough, we're saying that thousands, hundreds of thousands of people working together aren't smart enough for all these shows. I don't think that's the right argument to make. But back to the connection between Euphoria and the OA. So I was watching a clip of Maddie and Cassie in season 1. And they're in this room with all these mirrors, the fun house, because there's a state fair. And it didn't mean anything to me at the time when I watched it. Cassie is saying we should just pick the hottest versions of ourselves and be that. But in the context of the OA, where there are multiple versions of a person, where there's a multi-universe, that scene hits different. It hits very different. And I've done other videos connecting the OA to Stranger Things. When you watch Stranger Things finale, and then if you have the, fortune of me having not seen the OA yet, watching it after Stranger Things, the first 15 minutes of the OA is going to feel like a continuation of Stranger Things. The mention of Nancy, Erica, and Steve. Now you could say, oh, these are just very common names. But to have it in the first 15 minutes, those names referenced. To have the lead look like the little girl from the lab that's supposed to be Elle but is blonde. And yeah, you can say blonde people turn brunette all the time. That's really blonde. Turned really brunette. So now I'm connecting the OA to Euphoria to Stranger Things. And now you're thinking, Euphoria and Stranger Things, what could they possibly have in common? Nothing. Very different demographics, target audiences. And yet I love them both. I obsessively watched season 1 and 2 of Euphoria, especially season 1. And I was thinking, oh, it's just the last season that's off. But when I went back to that carousel scene with, state fair scenes with Maddie and Cassie, and I thought about Stranger Things, the mirrors in Stranger Things with Hopper. And then I thought of the mirror scenes with Kareem in the OA. It got me to thinking that Euphoria, I need to rewatch again. I need to do another rewatch because there is something, what can I say? Because, of course, there are certain things that connote something universally, mirrors, reflections have symbolism that goes across cultures. So it's not insane to think that an artist or writer would use a symbol and it not necessarily be that they worked with other artists to create a larger message. But when you look at season 3 of Euphoria with Nate having his ring finger cut off and his toe cut off, his toe being cut off and the red wedding, very much like something very bad is going to happen. Executive producers of that, the Duffer Brothers of Stranger Things. Then you look at Odessa, Hulu movie with Sadie Sink, and the way that her ring finger was cut off. Similar tool as well as the one with Nate in Euphoria. And now the symbolism gets a little too specific. And when I watch Euphoria on Hulu, on Hulu, like through HBO Max on Hulu, the connection, it keeps suggesting Game of Thrones. Another show with a very questionable last season. And at first I thought they were just so ridiculous. What kind of continuity error is that to have a Starbucks cup? What kind of writing is this? But now I am wondering, with all these shows that have such crazy hijinks, intentionally terrible choices being made, there is something bigger going on. I don't know if it's like shows are sacrificing their last season to say something bigger, to gain the attention of people, to say, hey, doesn't this seem like this is off? Doesn't it seem like something is wrong here? Doesn't the fun house not feel so fun anymore? Maybe these mirrors are reflecting something deeper, and if you find the right one, you'll see the truth. This is obviously not a fully fleshed out theory, but I do believe that a lot of these shows are intentionally making bad last seasons. I do believe that a greater message, a MetaGate, if you will, is being established. And I know you think that's crazy because that takes not thousands, hundreds of thousands of people being involved. So much secrecy, so many years of hard work. But then I look at the pyramids and I think, actually, it's not that hard at all. It's actually very possible. We as humans have done great things. And maybe you'll say it's aliens, but hey, it's still creatures doing great things together. So just consider and think about this when you rewatch any of these shows.